What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and technically doing a Cyber Dragon deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an awesome going second build that can easily OTK your opponent. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Cyber Jormungandr. This card is definitely a 3 of in the build because it's an awesome card for going second. With the ability that it cannot be normal summoned or set, it must be special summoned by a card effect, and if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon this card from the hand. Then take a Cyber Dragon from your deck and either special summon it or equip to this card as an equipped spell, which you're always special summoning it to your side of the field to give you 2 level 5s on your side of the field so you can go for a copy of Nova and then Infinity to protect your plays so you can OTK. But this card is amazing in the going second build, which is why I'm playing 3 copies of it in this deck. We're then playing 3 copies of the original Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon is definitely a 3 of in the build for the going second deck, because this card has the ability, if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monster, you can special summon this card in the hand, and it's an awesome ability just to instantly bring it out on your side of the field so you can contact fuse away your opponent's field if you have cards like Clockwork Knight on the field, and just deal with your opponent's extra deck monsters if they're in the extra monster zone with different cards like Mega Fleet, which is awesome to be able to do, but this card is such a powerful combo piece in the deck. We then played 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. Cyber Dragon Core is definitely a 3 of in the build because this card is the best normal summon in the entire deck. So when this card is normal summon, you can actually add a Cyber Speller Trap from your deck to your hand, grabbing the exact card that you need. We then played 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Hertz. Hertz is really good as a 2 of in the build, but you only need 2 copies of this card. This card has the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can actually add a Cyber Dragon from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to use, and just an awesome ability to grab the exact card that you need. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dragon Nashter. Nashter is great as a 1 of in the build and helps out a lot in this deck, but you only need a single copy of this card now, especially now that we have Jormungandr, but this card is the ability, its name becomes Cyber Dragon while in the field or in the graveyard, just like your copy of Hertz and Core. But this card is a super unique ability. You can discard one of their monsters to special summon this card in your hand, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually special summon a monster with 2100 attack or defense from your graveyard that is a machine monster, which is a great effect to instantly bring back your copy of Cyber Dragon to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dark Worm. Cyber Dark Worm is an amazing card that we just got out of Alliance Insight, just like our copy of Cyber Jormungandr, but this card is crazy powerful and has a once per duel effect. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while in the field or in the graveyard. And if this card is in your hand or your graveyard, and you have another machine cyber monster in your field or graveyard, you can actually sim a Cyber Dragon monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard to special summon this card. Then add a Cyber Speller Trap from your graveyard to your hand, and you can only see effect this card once per duel, but it's an amazing 1 of in the build, and just an awesome new support card that we've gotten for this deck. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dark Chimera. Cyber Dark Chimera is really good as a 1 of in the build, as this card actually searches Power Bond, and you're just playing a single copy because we can search it off our copy of Cyber Dark Realm. But this card is the ability that you can discard a Speller Trap card to add a Power Bond from your deck to your hand, and also you can only use Dragon or Machine Cyber monsters as fusion material this turn. Also, once when you do fusion summon this turn, you can also banish monsters from your graveyard as material, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can actually send a Cyber Dark monster from the deck to the graveyard with a different name from cards in your grave, which is great to send your copy of Worm to the graveyard so you can just use its effect. We then play a single copy of Terverion KingJackGames. Terverion KingJackGames is great as a 1 of in the build, as this card is basically a walking negate. We then play a single copy of the Star Destroying Kaiju. Star Destroying Kaiju is great because this card is searchable and outs towers like boss monsters, and it's still really good 1 of in the deck to hand your opponent and have a copy of Cyber Dragon out, so you can basically contact fuse away. We then play 3 copies of Mulcharmy Fluros. Flareos is really good in this deck as a 3-of because this card is just amazing in this deck to help us dig into the deck for the exact card we need, especially with this build because we want to go second to draw into board breakers or draw into cards we can OTK, but for a more budget option, you could change this card out for Ash Blossom if you need to. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent is great as a 1-of in the build because this card lets us draw 2 cards, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at our opponent's hand and choose a card from it, and shuffle it into the deck. We then play a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. Harpy's Feather Duster is great just to deal with our opponent's back row just in case we need to. We then play 2 copies of Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is great to either deal with your opponent's back row or their attack position monsters. It's just a really powerful card in this deck, especially since we want to go second in OTK. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is great as a 2-of in the build because you can search out so many different cards in this deck with this card. It's just an extremely powerful 2-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Cyber Repair Plan. Cyber Repair Plan is a really good 1-of in the build and just owns a lot in this deck that if a Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, you can activate one of these effects, and if you have 3 or more Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, you can activate both, which is a great effect to actually add a Light Machine monster from your deck to your hand, which lets us start our Kaiju, or let us target a Light Machine monster in the graveyard and shovel that target into the deck. We then play a single copy of Power Bond. Power Bond is searchable in the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card just to help you OTK, but it is searchable off your copy of Chimera, which is why we just play a single copy of this card so we can fusion summon and double the attack points of our monsters so we can go in for game. We then play a single copy of Cyber Load Fusion. Cyber Load Fusion helps out a lot in this deck because this card just helps out so much in this build to be able to use to basically just shuffle back the materials so we can go in for a fusion play, and it's just a really powerful 1-of in this build. We play a single copy of Machine Duplication. Machine Dupe is searchable off your copy of Thrust, which is why we just play a single copy in this build. It's just a really good 1-of in the deck to be able to bring out more Cyber Dragons to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Clockwork Knight. Clockwork Knight turns everything on the field into a machine monster, which is insane to be able to do, but this card is searchable off of Clockwork Knight, which is really good to be able to instantly search this card off of a Link 1 monster. But this card makes all face-up monsters on the field become machine monsters, and machine monsters we control gain 500 attack defense, and machine monsters our opponent control lose 500 attack and defense, making it super easy to OTK. Plus, this card has a great effect that you can actually banish this card in the graveyard, discard a card, and then an Earth Machine monster from your deck to your hand, meaning we can use this card to search our copy of Terverion KingJackGames. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Emergency. Cyber Emergency is essentially the Rhoda for the build, letting us add the exact card we need from our deck to our hand. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Dark Realm. Cyber Dark Realm is crazy powerful in this deck and definitely a 3-of in the build, as this card is revealed when it's activated. You get to add a Cyber Dark monster from your deck to your hand with a different name from cards in your graveyard, and during the main phase, immediately as that resolves, you get to normal summon a Cyber Dark monster, which is such a powerful effect to instantly normal summon your copy of your Cyber Dark Chimera after you've normal summoned out your copy of Core, which is so good about this card. But the reason we're playing 3 copies of this card in the deck is because now we have 2 targets for it, plus you can use it with your copy of Clockwork Knight to be able to search your copy of the Clockwork Knight spell card, which is awesome. We then also played 3 copies of Forbidden Droplets. Droplets is really good in this build as a 3-of, just to help us break our opponent's board, and it's just really good to help us go in for game, because this card is just awesome at having the attack points of our opponent's monsters and negating their effects. So, that's it for the main deck, guys. We do not play any traps in this build. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. This card is an awesome card to help us OTK our opponent, as this card requires 2+ Cyber Dragon monsters to make, and it can attack multiple times, which is insane to help us go in for game, and it also pops spells and traps. And my single copy of Cyber Twin Dragon. Cyber Twin Dragon is great as a 1-of in the build, because this card can actually attack twice. with my single copy of Cyber End Dragon. Cyber End Dragon is awesome. To be able to summon out to side of the field, it does require 3 Cyber Dragons to make, but it does do piercing damage as a 4,000 attack point monster, and if we do summon out this card with Power Bond, it does come out with 8,000 attack points, so let's go in for game. We then play 2 copies of Fortress Dragon. Fortress Dragon is amazing in this build as a 2-of because it helps us contact fuse our opponent's cards away and just deal with every monster on the field. Once we play Clockwork Knight, as every monster on opponent's side of the field will be a machine monster, making it super easy just to deal with their opponent's field. We play a single copy of Mega Fleet. Mega Fleet is great to deal with monsters in the extra monster zone, and just requires a copy of a Cyber Dragon plus a monster in the extra monster zone to make this card, helping us deal with our opponent's monsters. We play a single copy of the Mechanical Dawn. Mechanical Dawn is great for going first because this card is actually a walking negate, and this card has the ability, if this card is fusion summoned, you can activate this effect that during the standby phase of the next turn, you get to add a card from your graveyard to your hand with the effect that lets you fusion summon a monster, meaning we can actually add Power Bond from our graveyard back to our hand, and since this card has 0 attack, you can basically summon this card out for free, which is crazy powerful in this build. And this card is just really good because when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, or effect, quick effect, you can banish 1 face-up light machine monster that you control, or 2 light machine monsters from your graveyard to negate the activation, which is a great effect. We then play 2 copies of Infinity. Infinity is definitely a 2-of in the build because this card is a walking negate and can actually gobble up your opponent's cards, and it's really good in this build overall just to help you deal with your opponent's field. And with the new Cyber Jormungandr, it's very easy to make in this build because all you have to do is summon out your copy of Cyber Jormungandr, and once you do, you bring out a Cyber Dragon, then you make your copy of Nova. Nova is awesome in this build as a 2-of. Tell me make your copy of Infinity because all you have to do is make a copy of Nova, then put a copy of Infinity on top of it, which is awesome. Plus, this card is a great effect that once per turn you can detach your material from this card to be able to actually bring back a Cyber Dragon from the graveyard, which is a great ability to instantly bring back a Cyber Dragon and then make a copy of Infinity. Then make a single copy of Cyber Dragon Seeger. Seeger makes your monsters absolutely massive and helps you OTK, making this card a definite 1-of in the build. My single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is great because this card is one of the most powerful cards in the entire game currently to use as a double interruption. We then play a single copy of Clockwork Knight. Clockwork Knight is great to be able to search our Clockwork Knight spell card with the ability that if this card is link summoned, you can actually send a face-up continuous spell that you control to the graveyard to add a Clockwork Knight from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to be able to use in this deck because it instantly gets you your copy of Clockwork Knight with 3 copies of Cyberdark Realm in this deck. It's very easy to send a face-up continuous spell you control to the graveyard, and this card is just a really good 1-of in the build. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Cyber Dragon deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's so fun to be able to play and it's easy to OTK your opponent win this build because we play so many different board breakers, especially with all the new support. So, that's going to be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.